Attention to brief. Welcome to the briefing room. My name is Matt Bowman, and I'm your co-host for this show. My other co-host is Dr. Tyrone Taborn, and between us, we have over 50 years of briefing the highest levels of military and civilian leaders on things that are going on around the world. I spent 20 years in the United States Navy flying jets off of aircraft carriers and briefing leaders in forums just like this: admirals, generals, ambassadors, chiefs of missions. And this show is a show by warriors for warriors. Over the next 12 months, as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary, we're going to bring to you 250 veterans who are the best of this nation, who represent the best and the brightest, many of whom you don't know. So, as we like to say, the briefing room is not just raising the bar. We are helping you live your life so that you can recognize that you are your ancestors' wildest dreams. So let's get started with today's current military events. I like to call this section going around the world in 7 minutes. So let's start here in the United States. The United States of America is on a war footing. So for those of you who have never worn the cloth of the nation or been in the military, what does it mean to be on a war footing? A war footing is when the President of the United States, as the Commander in Chief, makes a decision that military force is warranted against another country. So 5 things happen when you go on a war footing. Number 1, the President engages with the State Department for diplomacy. At the same time, he picks up the phone and coordinates with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to find the nearest aircraft carrier. The third call that is made is to put United States Marines and soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division on alert. Those are the tip of the spear. And then the 5th call that is made is to all the special forces, all the special operators. That includes Delta, Air Force PJs, Navy SEALs, and CIA. CIA is kind of like the 4th arm of that special forces. And they all mobilize. They actually all go in, start moving towards the objective to gather intelligence and surveillance and give the president options. An air campaign comes next, and after the air campaign, to deny, suppress, and destroy the enemy's air defense systems, the next decision is the big one. Does he or does he not put boots on the ground? So that's what a war footing means. This nation is on a war footing. In the backdrop of all of that, the State Department is having both formal and informal conversations. So as you watch the news, you'll hear the United States say, we're having formal conversations with the Iranian regime. You'll hear elements of the Iranian regime saying, I'm unaware of any of those formal talks. There are no formal talks occurring. And so that's why you hear these different versions of what's going on. And so when they talk about the fog of war or the maze of the bureaucracy in the State Department, that's what they're talking about from a military perspective. And the maze of bureaucracy is what happens when diplomats start talking and having private conversations about how something should or should not happen. So that's what's going on in the United States right now. Underneath this backdrop in the United States, we have members of the TSA who have not been paid in over 30 days. Vast numbers of them are not showing up to work. They're having to get second jobs in major airports. And so when you look in the news, you'll see Atlanta, you'll see New York, you'll see all of the major airports having huge challenges with manpower as a result of Homeland Security not being funded. We are existing in a partial government shutdown. So what does this war, this conflict, if you will, in Iran have impact around the rest of the world? Well, in Europe, Europe is facing one of the worst energy crises since COVID and since World War II. The Dutch are only at 6% as they roll into the summer for their energy reserves. Europe is having to make major decisions as to whether they should implement restrictions, whether they should find alternate sources of natural gas and oil. But the way the global supply chain works is it's not easy. The Ukraine and Russia. Yesterday, Russia launched 1,000 drones. Can you imagine that? 1,000 drones were launched into Ukraine on Tuesday night. Many of them were shot down, but even if half of them were shot down, it means over 400 to 500 drones actually hit their targets in the Ukraine. Over the next coming weeks, you're going to hear about a spring offensive. European countries go to war in the spring, and in the fall, they start their retreat back as the European winter slows down war. So over the next coming weeks, you're going to hear increasing news about the war and what's going on between Moscow and Kiev. As you go to Africa, on the news, you hear countries like Nigeria, Angola, Algeria, net exporters of crude oil. So you're asking yourself, well, why should the Africans be concerned about oil stopping from the Persian Gulf? Africans cannot process their own oil. There's limited infrastructure in refineries. So many African countries actually import refined oil products. And so when the importation is cut off, when the Straits of Hormuz are closed, those African nations have to do fuel rationing like they're doing in Mauritius. They have electricity restrictions like they're doing in many countries. And so oil affects even a continent like Africa. So you see now that there's an energy crisis in Europe, there's an energy crisis in Africa, there's an energy crisis in Asia as Asian countries start shifting to coal, as the Philippines becomes the first country in the world to declare a national emergency because there's no fuel coming to the Philippines from the Persian Gulf. So the whole world, as you can see, is being impacted by one thing: energy supply and demand. Now, Australia, the continent down under, well, what happens with them? Well, they also have a problem because they are a major exporter of agriculture. Farmers around the world are looking at diesel prices that have doubled in the last couple of weeks, right as the spring harvest and the spring planting season happens around the world. So farmers around the world, when you see your farmer on his or her tractor, they are screaming because diesel prices are rising at absolutely the worst time for a farmer. And then the last continent, of course, that we'll talk about is South America. So South America, with the recent changes in Venezuela and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro, so far between Brazil and all the major countries in South America, they're probably weathering this energy crisis the best. But what's going on militarily in South America? We've now reached a milestone: 157 South Americans who've been in either the Caribbean or the Eastern Pacific have been killed by U.S. assets. That doesn't count all the other boats that have either been confiscated or persons injured. It's 157 that have been killed, including 3 that were killed yesterday in the Eastern Pacific. So everyone always thinks about the Caribbean and the Go Fast and the cigarette boats, but there's also major drug traffic areas that come in what's called the Eastern Pacific. And so the United States has assets both in the Eastern Pacific and also in the Caribbean to stop the flow of illicit narcotics from coming into not just America, but also going into other countries. So there we go. We've gone around the world in 7 minutes. Right now, I'm going to take you to a commercial, and you're going to get a chance to learn about the Becoming Everything You Are ecosystem. What is BEA? BEA is 50,000 professionals, 50,000 professionals, and 100,000 college students who make up this ecosystem of professionals and students we like to say, from kindergarten to the grave, with scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. So stay tuned. Take a look at our 40th anniversary, our 40th BEA conference.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, BEA has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for BEA 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. BEA, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
Welcome back to the briefing room. My name is Matt Bowman. And as you saw dozens of admirals and generals. Many people go, what is a BEA? Well, BEA, becoming everything you are, is not just a conference, it's an ecosystem of thousands of military professionals, thousands of cybersecurity experts. And that's why we have this show. The network and the information that we provide to you, you're going to get nowhere else. My guest today is a rocket scientist. He is one of the world's foremost welders and knowledgeable about welding, whether it's welding spacecraft, underwater, submarines, anything that has to do with high technology and welding. This man is the person who everyone calls. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the show, drum roll please, Mr. Ernest Levert.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And listen, I'm super excited. You know, this year we're interviewing 250 of the top thought leaders, and having you on the show, sir, today, I mean, it's just an honor. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Same here.
All right. So, you know, you got a very famous last name. You got some very famous relatives, but you are a legend yourself. So I want to get right into it. Tell us, you know, we all hear about a rocket scientist. And when I was a child, we watched Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica, and all of us wanted to be a rocket scientist. So I want to go back in time, as far back as you can go, your grandparents or your great-grandparents. Tell me about them and what it took that they did that made sure that you could become a rocket scientist.
Well, thank you, Matt. Let's go back to my parents, William and Gertrude Levert. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I have a very Christian background, and I was always taught, you know, believe in yourself. And I live by this mantra each and every day: with God in your life and faith in yourself, you can achieve your goals, no matter what you're told. And so I harnessed that years, and so my parents planted that foundation in me back in the day. And the foundation of me becoming a rocket scientist is, let's go back to high school. I got my first job in '69 as a welder's helper at NASA in Cleveland at the airport there. And you walk into these big wind tunnels, and here you are. I'm just a welder helper, just starting off welding in high school, went to Max Certification High School. And you saw all of these projects that work on the Apollo engines and stuff like that at the time. And I thought, wow, you know, dream big. And so Martin Luther King always said, have a dream and follow your dreams. And so at that time, I didn't want to be a rocket scientist. At the time, I was going to have a welding career. My foundation is Calvary Hill Baptist Church with Mother Smith and the pastor there, Pastor Bivens. They always had this faith-based system, and they taught us how to believe in ourselves. And so that started me off my career path as a welder. And then some of the deacons at the church were veterans, and they were talking on Sunday mornings. I'm 13, 14 years old, telling me, what are you going to do, get out there in your cities, out of the hood of Cleveland, Ohio? And they said, well, I'm not quite sure. They said, well, learn a trade. And that's why in 8th grade, I saw a 16 millimeter movie, saw these guys welding up on a skyscraper. And that was my initial goal, be a welding on skyscrapers. But
Wait. At 13, let me get
at
this right.
14,
At
eighth grade,
eighth
yes.
grade. So your parents, your father, what did he do? What did your father and mother do? What did they do for a living?
My father was a maintenance worker at Union Carbide, and my mother was a homemaker.
Okay.
And then after a while, she became a housekeeper to help dad
Okay.
with the income. Yeah.
And
And
then
so,
from that experience, they raised you in the church. And here you are as an eighth grader, and you see a movie about these skyscrapers being welded together by, I assume, men walking up, 30, 40 stories high.
yeah.
That didn't scare you?
Yeah. No, that was exciting for me in eighth grade back in 68, 66. That was great. So that led me on to go to Max Education High School because to learn this skill, you had to learn this. I applied to Max Education High School, and when I got accepted back in that day, you had to apply and then be accepted. When I got accepted, I showed my mom I was accepted, and she says she cried because Mom, I'm going to get out of there in the cities with my trade. My brother William Jr. He was a football jock. Brother Ike, he was more of a Casanova, and I said, Mom, I'm going to go to school and learn my skill and make it. So I learned from my brother. So I was focused on education, and so the career started. And so working at NASA, and I realized I decided to look into the military. My brother William Jr. He was drafted into the Army, went to Vietnam, and going through that time, I'm going to go into the details there, but he was not go Army, so that's why I looked at all the branches of service. Let's go to the Navy, and the Navy
You
allowed
wanted to do
me.
something different. You said, if my brother's going to the Army, I'm going to create my own life and do something a little different.
Yeah, yeah, he told me to not go Army because he went to a communication school, he graduated, and he went right off to Vietnam, and so he said do not go Army. So I went to the Navy, and I got a basic training where I received the leadership medal for leadership called the American Spirit Honor Medal. Out of 1,100 men, I was selected out of all those men to be the leadership award that year. And
Wow.
because I led 80 men in basic training, I was 20 years old. I became a Scoutmaster at the age of 18 years old in Cleveland, Ohio at Troop 426. And my commander, Levert Sr. I said, yes, sir. He said, how old are you? I said, I'm 20. He said, you can handle boys, you can handle men. So he put me in charge of 80 men. I had young men from Kowalski, father of KKK, Grand Dragon, Buckeye was from Mississippi. So I had a melting pot of men. I had 4 Gomer Powers in my unit. And so we graduated together on Friday the 13th. And I molded all these guys. I kept telling them, if we can't trust each other and work together as a team, then we're about to go to Vietnam. You can't trust the guy behind you, you're going to be dead. Okay. So we have to learn to work together. And that's what we learned together. We came together with jail. So when I graduated from basic training, I went straight to C school, which
Well,
is
Ernest, I'm gonna
okay,
interrupt you
yes.
here. Before you
Yeah.
tell me about the Navy career, I want to go back to the childhood, and I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
why. I'm gonna tell you why. You take a child from 0 to 7, and one of the great philosophers said, "Show me a child at 7, and I'll show you the man that they will become." So when we look at, or woman, so when we look at your story, in Bea, we have something called a workforce development committee, and it talks all day long about the lack of what they call middle skills, high-tech manufacturing, those kind of skills. So when you're 13, do you think children now, young people now at 13 and 14, eighth graders, can learn how to weld and do those type of skills? And what advice would you give to parents who are thinking, hey, my son or daughter, I just want them to, stay in class and study? Is there a path for those who are good with their hands?
Absolutely, and I'm the perfect example because everyone is not college material. Let's go back to eighth grade again. I was in eighth grade when Martin Luther King was assassinated, and that when he was assassinated, I cried, and that changed my life. I got a chance to see all the civil rights movements going on within real time. And so I learned at that time, nonviolence was a, and what did he say? One day I want to be carrying up cover your skin. That is something that he to stay with me all my life. And I always say, take the high road, not the low road. And so uh, by me going to vocational school, the kids today, even as a scoutmaster, teach them skills. And these boys are from 11 years old to 8 years old, and they learn all different types of skills. And welding is one of them. And there's a workforce out that needs the technical skill sets of these young men.
Production, Ernest, I'm going to stop you there because I'm getting a little bit of feedback here on this call. This is so important. This is critically important what you're saying. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick commercial on Career Day. And then when we come back, I want to get your full, clear answer. So production, I need y'all to tweak some twans and trons to make this happen. So let's go to a Career Day commercial. And then we come back. We're going to continue this conversation on workforce development and how you too can raise a rocket scientist.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at BEA. Become everything you are.
Welcome back to the briefing room. My name is Matt Bowman, naval aviation, flying jets off of aircraft carriers. And this show is a show by warriors for warriors, highlighting 250 of the nation's top veterans. And so today we have Mr. Ernest Levert. He is a rocket scientist. He is an international best manufacturing welder in the entire world. And sir, when we last spoke, we were talking about the importance of a vocational education in your life.
And I can say I agree. This is a critical time in the world because we need like you said, workforce development. We need to have these young men and women that have the skill sets to work against and their knowledge, but they like working with their hands. I mean, I like what got me excited about manufacturing. Going through college and what have you, I did research, I did plant engineering, but then I did an internship with Caterpillar Tractor. I got to build things together. And as a welding engineer, my job is to join these materials together so that they go through shake, rattle, and roll, and they don't fall apart, okay? Think about that. And the workforce development of these kids right now is great. I mean, I like the BEA STEM workshop because I have been with since 2000, and I love what I see at BEA. I do the career day, I do the workshop because the kids need to see my story. And I say, if I can do it, stop you but you. So I went from a welder to a technician, engineer, then to a rocket scientist, traveling to 44 countries, all because of welding and welding engineering. So workforce development is critical out there. On the other side of the picture, with the Boy Scouts, we have merit badges, and these merit badges are trades that the Scouts learn, and we now have a welding merit badge. And my son, Eagle Scout Project, was building table and chair racks for Westside Baptist Church. And these young men did not have shop like we did in middle school. And all these boys were so excited. I took that back to the board of directors of it, the American Welding Society, and said, we need to tap in the next generation welding professionals. And that's we started welding merit badge in 2012. And our troop, 822, was the first 14 to earn the merit badge. Over 85,000 scouts have now earned that merit badge. That's just one merit badge. So now we have AI merit badge, we have computer merit badge. So they're learning the workforce development skills at the young age, so they can decide when they get ready to go to high school, they can figure they try college or VOTAC, and they can also go for free money out there. A lot of scholarships out there for free money for their education. That's why I went to the military, and my parents can pay for college. But at the end of the day, with the workforce development, the skill sets for all these young men and women out there, it's wide open field, whatever they want to do.
Wow. Wow. And so, so you were welding, then you went into the Navy. This is a show by Warriors for Warriors. So I love it that you left out of boot camp, as the top of your class. I want to go back to production. Let's take him back to the Navy, and we're going to talk about your Navy career, because here you are coming into the Navy, the late 60s. You got a lot going on in the country. Talk to us about what your time and what the United States Navy, the world's greatest Navy, did for you, and what your experience was like, positive or negative.
Well, that's great, because when I told my mom I was going to join the Navy, she said, "What?" She said, "Son, why?" This is early 70s, 72, 73. And my mom said, "Why are you joining the Navy, the most pressured branch of service that there is?" At that time, they're having race riots aboard the aircraft carriers and all this stuff in the world. And I told my mom, I says, I went to Vacation High School where there was a African American in my welding class. I got a job at Club Products, and I went through pure hell of racism on that job. It's going to teach me how to be a better person. I've learned the skill set. But the Navy is going to give me the goals. I had 10 goals that I set for myself when I joined the Navy. Joining the Navy SEAL was not a job, it's an adventure. That was the tagline. I wanted the GI Bill. I wanted to go to. I wanted to get a house on the with the government. So I had all these different things that I wanted to do. So I went to T1 welding school, and this is where you learn to become a certified Navy welder. And I graduated. School was 18 weeks long. I finished school in 10 weeks because I had welding skill sets. And so first class we had to do a T-joint. I laid down that bead, gave it to my chief. He cussed me out and said, he called me every name under the sun. Cuss, even called me the N-word and said, "You can do this." So he got the whole this blank thing he can weld. I laid down that bead again. I said, "What?" He's what? Blank, Margaret, you can weld. So it was crazy, but the school was 18 weeks long. I finished school in 10 weeks because you had to do high pressure pipe welding, pressure hole welding, aluminum structure welding. I did nuclear welding school. So all of that, I came with 7 Navy welding certifications. So when I went to my first ship, the USS Sterett, they only rated 1 high pressure welder, ASC 4955. I was the only one. I was the E3 at the time. And that was the key when I joined the Navy, because I went to Vacation High School. They gave me advanced rank. I went in the Navy as E3. So that was really great. So I got to my first Navy ship, and Ensign Byron, I didn't mean to say that, but yeah, my division officer called me the N-word, cussed me out, and said, "I don't care what you are. You're E3. You can still do compartment cleaning and everything else." I cleaned up behind 50 sailors. They were nasty pigs. But my job as E3 was to be compartment clean for 3 months, plus all my duties as a high pressure welder and as a hull maintenance technician. So I did all of that. And so I never forget this long time I live. I had to clean up the head, the restroom behind these sailors. They come in on Monday morning, they're throwing up everywhere, but we had captain inspection. And captain came down, inspected that head. And what did Martin Luther King say? If you're going to be a street cleaner, be the best street cleaner that you can be.
That's right.
I cleaned that head. Those stainless steel bulkheads will have a mirror finish. I got done with a tuber. I cleaned that commode. It was clean. And when the captain came and inspected that head, he said, "Sailor, this is the cleanest head I've had on any of my ships." He looked at me, shook my hand, and I teach my Boy Scouts, everyone, respect is earned and not given.
That's right.
The only time in my life I can say I did not give respect when Ensign Byron went to shake my hand. I said, "Get your hand away from me." That's the only time I ever disrespected him, was he didn't respect me, so why should I respect him? Because he put me in that situation to shine. So let me zoom in here real quick, because when Ensign Byron left, Lieutenant Tackett came on board, and he saw my skill sets, my leadership skills, and Lieutenant Gibson was Lieutenant J.G. Gibson was the only African-American officer on board the ship. I actually stopped a mutiny aboard my ship one day. I won't go into detail, but I actually stopped a mutiny. I ran up to the war room. I got the Lieutenant Gibson. I ran back down to a first division and told the brother, you can't do this right now. We're in a battle situation. You go to a bridge right now, you're all going to be court-martialed. I defused that bomb. And Lieutenant J.G. Gibson looked to the attack and says, there's a program called the Boost Program called the Broaden Opportunity Officer Selection Training Program.
Ernest.
Yeah.
No, sir. I think the audience might have missed what you just said. On this show, on the briefing room, whenever we have sailors, because everybody knows sailors are the best storytellers, I ask you to tell a sea story. So that is incredible that here you are, this young sailor, very junior on the ship, and you're down here in the bottom of the ship, and you're hearing about a mutiny, and you have the presence of mind and the maturity to go up, inform the chain of command, stop a mutiny, which would have been in the history books, and as you said, they weren't going to mutiny. No one mutinies against the United States Navy. All that was going to happen is they were going to get arrested, charged, and thrown out the Navy or thrown into a brig. So, I mean, having stopped a mutiny, and mutinies were common. Riots and civil disturbances on ships in the 70s were common. So, I mean, that's just incredible. An incredible story. I don't think I've ever heard anyone who was there in the bulkhead as the mutiny is being formulated.
Yeah, interesting. But once again, that led me to go to an officer preparatory program in the United States Navy. Lieutenant Tackett, Lieutenant Gibson said, we want you to apply for the officer preparatory program. And I applied for Boost, and I went to chain of command. My first class officer said no, but everybody else said yes. So I made it to the Boost program and graduated. And the story there is I went to my second ship, and after that I went to the United States, went to Ohio State University. So
wow.
I had a good time in the Navy. I traveled to 12 countries in the Navy. Yes.
There are some lessons there. And I'm going to tell you the lessons, okay? Here's lesson number one. And this is for all you CEOs and entrepreneurs who are listening to this, and also you frontline managers. The people that you lead will never forget how you treated them and the things that you said to them. I want to say that again. The people that you lead will never forget how you treated them and the things that you said to them. So as a leader, you have to watch every word and every interaction. We live in a time where everyone likes to say, speak truth to power. But know this, that the words that you say, in the words of one of those gladiator movies, the words that you say will echo throughout time. And so as we go through these podcasts and we talk to all these leaders, we've heard story after story about actions and words that have left permanent stains and permanent encouragement. So I encourage all of our listeners, be the one who is promoting permanent encouragement. So years after you're gone, people are calling your name on podcasts and saying how you made a positive difference in their life. So going back to you, Ernest, we're here, you made it through Boost, and you're now at the university. All paid for by the United States Navy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel.
What happens at the university?
Well, it was great. I want to give a shout out to Dean Minnie McGee because I had a program, and I was supposed to go to the Navy Engineering Scientific program, and I was going to plan to go to Purdue and major in. Well, I came home on leave and saw my brother's course book, Henry, my younger brother, and I saw welding engineering in the curriculum. I said, welding engineering, I can. So I said, wow.
And Quan?
And I went to curriculum and said, I know that. I can learn. And so with that being said, I went to a university with my best friend, and I met Dean Ming McGee, and she was in my minor engineering program coordinator. And I told her what I was doing. I'm still active duty. I plan to go back to last tour overseas on pack. And I was planning to work engineering, and she saw my resume. Ernest, you're going to have to fight your way out of here. I said, what? If you got the welding side and I get to work on the engineering side, you will have to fight your way out of here. And I thought, wow. So she connected with the department chair, Dr. Roy McCauley. I went over to him, had a conversation with him, more of an interview. And he said, Mr. Welcome you here. We welcome some of your background. So at Ohio State, there I am. I was overseas in the Philippines on my second Westpac on USS Jewett, the Charlie J we call, and I got my letter from Ohio State and said, you've been accepted to the Hudson University, and I jumped for joy, and I went on a party. And so the career counselor came to me and said, okay, Levert, it's time to re-enlist. It's like, okay. He said, well, I give you C1 Welding School. I said, well, Hatfield, if you remember, I've already graduated from C1 Welding School. Well, how about Treatment Medical School? That's another class. He said, oh, well, I graduated from that school also. That's a class. I give you $10,000. He said, well, I said, let me show you something. I showed him my laboratory to Ohio State. I said, I made it to my first year of college. He looked outside the bulkhead down the hatchway in our hallway and said, get that blank out of the U.S. Navy. Go have fun. So I got out of the Navy, went to Ohio State, and I was so happy to start my program. And going through the Boost program really prepared me for college because your first year you got calculus, physics, chemistry, and all the basic foundations for engineering. But the Boost program got me all prepared because to be in the Boost program, you had to have a 3-point GPA or better. If not, you got sent back to the fleet. So I was on the top 10% of the class there. So that being said, I did great my freshman year. I got an internship my freshman year because of one of the dean's assistants saw my resume. He got me an internship at Alcoa Technical Center. And I helped to get a patent on mixing spot welding. So I had a great first year. So the second year I started welding.
Aluminum Company of America?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In Pittsburgh, in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. My first internship as a freshman, just in my freshman year. So second year I started my welding classes and I went to Professor Albright and I said, what's your lab? I can do your lab with my eyes closed, one time behind my back. Now, I'm a Navy welder. So he said, well, why don't you teach the lab? So this was our first welding engineering class, introduction to welding engineering. They had to do a lab work. And so I taught the lab and everybody was watching me and I did all the safety stuff.
Wait.
Yeah. And so,
but aren't you a student?
Yeah. I was a student, but I went to Professor Albright. I said, I can do your lab with my eyes closed one time out of my back because I got 7 days Navy certification. I've been welding many years now. So he said, why don't you teach the lab? And I did. He said, I got A out of the lab. He said, well, if you teach the lab, I'll give you an A in the lab. So after that quarter, I became a TA. I did research with all the living professors out there, Dr. McMaster, Dr. Jackson. These are godfathers of the welding industry at Ohio State University. I've worked with them creating flux and slags and do all kinds of good stuff. So I'm an undergrad getting paid at Ohio State University while I'm going to class because of my welding skills.
Hey, on this show, on the briefing room, we have something called the foot stomp. And as you know, It's in all the military schools. And that is, a foot stomp is, in military language, a point to remember. So for all my college students out there, as you listen to Mr. Ernest Levert talk about how he went from being a student to teaching classes while he was a student, every college student should aspire to teach classes as a TA while they're in undergraduate. Remember that. So for all the college students, foot stomp, become a teaching assistant. Go ahead, Mr. Levert. We want to hear the rest of the story.
So my second year, I went to Alcoa in Los Angeles as a plant management intern. And I thought that was cool, but that wasn't my cup of tea. My third year, I went to Caterpillar Tractor in Peoria, Illinois, in manufacturing. And that's where I found my love for manufacturing. Building things, doing the shake around the road because you weld them together. Got those big tractors out there going to pick up stuff, and you're going through welds to break. And then in May of 1981, I met Dr. Ronald McNair at Ohio State University, my new engineering banquet. Dr. Ronald McNair, astronaut, he was MIT, PhD, very witty guy, very smart guy. He says to all of us, Don't be a typical engineer. Discipline, become the expert.
Say that,
Wow. And
Mr.
I had a
Levert.
woman.
Mr. Levert,
I'll say that again.
say it again.
There. And I met so many around there scholars. I got to meet there one-on-one. And we had a great conversation. He said, don't engineer. Pick your discipline and become the expert. My senior year, I taught robotics at Ohio State. I taught the lab at Ohio State. I did research at Ohio State. What can I learn that I don't know? And I looked at everything in the curriculum, and there was power beam technology, lasers, electron beam welding. This is a high-tech stuff, the futuristic of the welding process. There's over 100 welding processes to choose from, but this was something that was very special. So I took Dr. Charlie Albright's course that year, and I learned so much, not knowing that that would be my expertise for the rest of my life. And the fact is, when I graduated from Ohio State University, 1982, I had 18 job offers. So D. McGee was absolutely right. I had 18 job offers. The 19 said I was overqualified. Chicago Bridge Line said you overqualified. That come on, I was the highest paid undergrad come out of Ohio State University class of 1982. I would say, well, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Mother Smith. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I was just saying, hallelujah, hallelujah. And so I got my first job in San Diego at Amatex Strada. And what happened? I became the electron beam welding coordinator right off the bat. And there it was, Ron McNair to pick up you just become an expert. There I was working on the main engines for the Charlotte Challenger. Rockets for Rocketdyne, building jet engines for GE, Pratt Whitney, and Rolls, all using electron beam welding. So I became the expert. 1982. Let's go to 2022. Many years later, 4 years later, and I have now become the world-leading expert in power beam technology, traveling the world to 44 countries. Now, That's when we get to IIW arena. That's down the road. But yeah, but because of Ron McNair, so my first job was building the main engine for Charlotte Challenger in 1982. When the Challenger blew up in 86, I thought, did I make a mistake on my procedures? So I developed a procedure they call a welding procedure specification, the recipe for welding these rockets together and these missiles together. And think about you traveling 17,500 miles per hour. If those welds fail, you're going to die. And that's why critical welding is, and we as engineers, rocket scientists, rocket engineers, we got to make sure that we go through all the testing, procedure, validation, make sure that it works. And so we know it's the O-rings that fail, but once again, I lost my friend, my mentor, and that was the first job I worked on at Ohio State was the Charlotte main engines.
Wow.
Great stuff, man. But Ron McNair planted that seed for me.
Well, like I say, that to that McNair family, and many of them are at Bea. Brother Carl McNair, all of the whole family. We salute them in their efforts, and their sacrifice for this country. When the shuttle came apart, there was so many questions, so many accusations. What went wrong? So I know your heart had to be beating hard. Like, did I do something wrong in my? You're the welding guy. You're the guy who's supposed to keep this thing together. So
yes, sir. That was tough.
Yeah.
So after, I
nothing.
Yeah, it was O-rings.
Welding was spot on. That was right on. I did my job. So and we go through what we call a shake, rattle, and roll. We go through all the tests and make sure we shake it until it does come apart, so we know what the allowables are. Make sure that we always have a margin of safety on our weld joints, and we make sure we do it right. Yeah. So that is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And so this is now 86, 82 to 86, something like that.
That is correct. That is correct. Then 86, 85, I got married. Met my wife at Ohio State, Rhonda. We have been married 40 years. We have two children, Chantal and Ernest Jr. They both went to Ohio State. They both graduated engineering. Chantal went first, graduated mechanical engineering, and Ernest Jr. graduated biomedical engineering 2 years later. So we're a Buckeye family.
You're a Buckeye family. So wait a minute.
So let me say this. My wife, we met because I was a veteran going back to Ohio State, and she was thinking about she wanted to learn more about the military, and therefore we met and we started talking. And because she ended up going to the Army, became an Army medical doctor, and so we got married. We got married in Columbus, Ohio. Then we drove from Columbus to Fort Sam Houston and sang the residency. So she's an Army doctor. I'm a Navy veteran. So we both were Army Navy going back and forth. But I was living in San Antonio, so I was commuting every weekend. And then I said that's not gonna work. So I got a job at LTV in '86 and moved to Dallas. I commute from Dallas to San Antonio twice a week.
Wow. I love hearing these stories about these relationships. One of the questions that I got asked this actually 2 days ago, is, how do you find someone that you can spend your life with and build a life and build a family and overcome obstacles and have these friendships? So, we talk about raising the bar, but, every single guest who's been on this show has talked about the impact that their spouse has had on their success. So tell us a little bit more about your wife. I mean, it's a doctor, so she's obviously smart, beautiful, all those things. Tell me some more about your wife and about your family.
Well, Rhonda, like I said, she grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and I grew up in Cleveland, so we two Buckeyes. Been married 40 years. She's more smart lady that I know, and respect to her, truly. And so we have our two children, and this is taken on a picture in St. Martin. This is right. Our son was expecting our first grandchild in this picture here, and they're doing well. We lost our son last year to a medical condition, an aneurysm. So we lost our son, January the 8th of 2025. And so it was a tough year last year, but we're still working strong together, building a relationship together with our grandchildren. But Chantal is now she went and got a master's degree from Northwestern in engineering and design and innovation. And she's working with, she's a think tanker. They come to her and she solved problems like that. And Ernest started he was biomedical engineering, but he said, Dad, if I do it over again, I'm going to economics. Because he lived in Columbus, Ohio. He started a dish called the Royal Oak Initiative. It's a leadership academy that teaches chess and leadership. Ernest is an Eagle Scout. He was a true image of an eagle, always giving back. And so his legacy lives on in Columbus, Ohio through the Royal Oak Initiative. Every second and fourth Sunday, you go to the facility that he established. You play chess. You leave your chess rating at the door. We teach leadership anywhere from pre-K, first graders, all the way to professional levels. So that's what he was doing before he passed away. So we're truly a blessed family.
Yes, you are. And if anyone's in that Ohio area and you want to get involved and support the initiative, and really as a tribute to life and legacy, we'll have Mr. Ernest Levert's contact information. For those who are watching, you see the great work that this family has done and continues to do. You see the great pride that Ernest has in his son, and that all of us on this show, the pride that we have in the guests. The quality of guests that we have on this show are unmatched. So Ernest Levert's contact information will be in there. Reach out to him if you want to support this foundation and the great work that they're doing in Ohio to teach leadership and chess to young people.
Yes. Yeah.
Ernest,
what time is this? Over at 12 and 11. So it's 1 hour, right?
It's 1 hour. We got 1 hour. We got 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. There's one thing I want to share with everybody for today is I want to thank my entire Levert family, my cousins, my sisters, my brother, my siblings, because we have been a very tight-knit family, the Levert family. They have given me the strength and support I need over all the years. I'm going to shout out to all the Leverts out there. Thank you for your love and your prayers, because we all needed them. Second is, I'm going to say, when I was 17 years old at Calvary Baptist Church, came to me and said, son, come here. I said, yes, man. She said, I have a vision that you can be a world leader. I said, me, Mother Smith, shine on me. And I walked away and she popped inside my head. Come back here, boy. I said, yes, man. He'll make a way for you. And so that I became a scoutmaster at the age of 18 years old. Went to the Navy, got the American Leadership Medal, and so our leadership awards led up to. I want to share with the organization called the American Wilderness Society. I became the first African American president in 2002. Went to IW, became the first African American board of director member. The IW make up 56 different countries. These are the best and the brightest in the world. And I got to chair Commission 4. Commission 4 is Power Beam Technology. So I got to manage all of the Power Beam guys in the whole world. I kept thinking, thank you, Mother Smith. But then when I got elected to the board of directors in 2015, I was so elated because once again, Mother Smith's vision finally came true from 17 years old to 2015. And then 4 years later, say 2022, I received the Esther Medal, which is the highest honors in the world for leadership. And I would say, well, thank you to my God. Thank you to Mother Smith. Thank you to my family for supporting me, for making that happen. Because I'm going to get shout out to the IAW because when you travel to 44 countries, in the space station work I worked on, the space shuttle, and now the Artemis 2 is going to be launching next month. And you look at the rockets on top of the Artemis 2, there's a white rocket called the Launch Abort System. That rocket, those now are my design. So with my work, that kid's 8th grader, they call it the foolish dream of 8th grade, is now going to the moon.
Wow.
And it's a hallelujah because it's a blessing to say, I tell these kids, if I can do it, you can do it. No one can stop you but you.
Well, Ernest, I'm going to recap for the audience and for the highlights that we're going to send out. Mother Smith. Thank God for the Mother Smiths of the world who speak life and who speak prophecy and blessings into the lives of a 17-year-old and who have the belief in young people that they actually take the time to pull them aside and mentor them. In Bea, we believe in mentoring. We bring together over 100 admirals and generals every year to mentor, and you just never know when you're going to be the Mother Smiths in somebody's life. So to Mother Smith, we know you're listening, so we salute you and what you've done for Mr. Levert, and then to the Levert family, because this is going to go on social media. And so to the Levert family, this show has been a show that shows the power of faith, the power of family, and the power of performance. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you're the one, Ernest, who had to go in and get those certificates and show time after time that performance matters. As you said, Dr. King said, be the best in the world at what you do.
Yeah, that is. Thank you for that, because those are great things. And my cousin Edward, the OJ, we always there was that Bay 2015. I got the Black Engineer of the Year form there. He did family reunion for me. He says when he did the tribute, he said, "I had no idea, Ernest, how you have touched the world. You have changed the world." And I said, "I am honored. You're my cousin. You're my cousin. I'm honored. You're my cousin." And but back in the day, my brothers and I, Henry, Ike, and Billy, we used to sing. We used to harmonize on the verge at Calvary Baptist Church. But my mission wasn't singing, and mine was being engineers. So God had a different path for me. And so I say again, the family members were there, so it's just great. But Bea is great. I've been to Stars and Stripes. I love that evening. I love the mentoring programs because I've given several positions over the years, and especially when Admiral Wing and you and I worked together a few years ago. I met your daughter. That weekend was awesome because I got a chance to talk to these kids. And even with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, I have 53 Eagle Scouts right now, and half of them are engineers.
Wow.
Half into engineering as their career path. So you get to mentor these young men. And I'll see Ross this weekend at Ohio State. He's a mechanical engineer. RJ is a mechanical engineer at Prairie View. And James is an engineer at Texas A&M right now. My last 3 Eagle Scouts, all engineers. Then Jerron, Eagle Scouts, he's in the United States Navy right now. So as you say earlier, you get the impact, influence these kids. So I'm the Mother Smith of yesterday. I'm the Mother Smith of today, trying to encourage these young people, even family and friends. If I go to Cleveland, my niece never come up. Here come Uncle Ernie, and I ask about their grades, and they say, "This is great," because they said Uncle Ernie's gonna make you do your best. So absolutely,
Right.
it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Ernest, I also remember when your cousin came and we were all in the elevator, and I thought, here I am, with two legends. One, the world's top rocket scientist and expert in how to build things that can shake, rattle, and roll and make it into space and then come back to Earth. And the other, one of the world's great legends of singing, all of you in one family coming out of that faith and family belief. So, sir, I'm going to give you a chance to make a final word to the audience, to those people who are trying to live their best life. Mr. Ernest Levert, what advice would you give to them? And then after that, I'm going to come back with some final remarks.
All right. My kids would tell you this. They know they had to learn it. With God in your life and faith in yourself, you can take a cheaper goal than what you're told. The best kept secret to my success is goal setting, but G stands for God, O is for opportunity, A is for attitude, L is for leadership, S is don't give up the ship. And I'm writing a book under that premise, and that to Julian Richardson from the History Makers. Okay, they came to my house in 2013, sat downstairs, recorded my life. And I seriously recorded my life. I'm part of the other history makers, and we got our life inducted to the National Library of Congress a few years ago. So I am truly blessed to say, to be a history maker in what I've done. I'm just truly blessed. I thank God for that. But a lot of the other history makers, from military to whatever, it's categories, so many categories out there. But I'm one of the top scientists in the United States of America. But she came and said, we recognize you for your work on the space program and things you've done. I say again, if I can do it, you can do it. Have faith in yourself. There's so much free money out there for you to go after scholarships. I started the Ernest Levert Engineering Scholarship at Ohio State to help those undergrads. So when I was a junior, I got a $500 scholarship. I thought it was $5 million because they helped me graduate in 4 years. But that $500 I got from Caterpillar Tractor through Dr. Carl Graff saved me going from 5 years to 4 years. So I have a scholarship now. And I'll be at Ohio State this weekend at the engineering banquet, hoping to give another scholarship out. But my closing remarks again is have faith in yourself. Remember, God loves you, and you gotta love yourself too. So respect is earned and not given.
Respect is earned and not given. Mr. Ernest Levert, thank you. I'm going to come with the wrap up. I'm going to play one final commercial, and then I'm going to come back with the wrap up. Let's play the BEA 40th. I want people to know about this ecosystem, and then I'll give my final comments.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, BEA has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for BEA 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. BEA, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
All right, welcome back to the briefing room. We've had a fantastic show. And to summarize it, in the words of Mr. Ernest Levert, you start with God and you end up with don't give up the ship. We'll see you next week here at the briefing room. Again, my name is Matt Bowman. I'm your co-host. I want to salute my other co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn, and we will see you next week, same time, same channel.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.